All right, listeners, buckle up. We're about to take a deep dive into a world where, well, gods walk among us. It's going to be a wild ride as we untangle this whole relationship between humanity and the divine.
And let me tell you, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Oh, I bet. We've got a pretty unique mix of sources here. We're talking excerpts from this fictional novel. It's called The Final Book, Gods.
Oh, yeah.
But we're also going to be looking at some historical documents, even some court transcripts from this fictional world.
It's really something. I mean, what I find fascinating is how these sources kind of flip the script on our typical understanding of gods, like
Right.
they're not just these all-knowing, all-powerful beings.
Yeah.
They have their own dramas, their own rivalries.
Right.
They even make some pretty big blunders.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Divine blunders. I'm all ears. So before we get into all that, let's set the stage here. Who are the main players in this cosmic drama?
Well, the novel introduces us to this whole pantheon of Olympian gods, led by, of course, Zeus.
Zeus. All right, so we're in familiar territory here, sort of like the Greek myths we all know and love.
Yeah, exactly. But instead of just chilling on Mount Olympus, these guys are actively involved, or at least they try to be, in shaping human events.
Oh, interesting. So they're not just like these distant figures, they're getting their hands dirty, so to speak.
Yeah, you could say that. So
Yeah.
you've got Ares, the god of war. You've got Clotho, who spins the thread of life.
Right.
Verdandi, who handles death.
Okay.
And a whole cast of others, each with their own roles and responsibilities.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster, honestly.
Okay.
If these gods are anything like their mythological counterparts, I mean.
Right. Well, you're not wrong. The novel and these historical documents all kind of converge on this one pivotal event, the resurrection of a figure named Lassus Nazareth.
Okay, Lassus Nazareth, that name rings a bell.
Exactly. It's a fictionalized, version of the Jesus story, but with a twist. The novel tells us that his resurrection, it wasn't part of some grand plan. It was an impulsive act of love by Clotho.
Hold on. A god falls in love with a mortal and decides to, like, bend the rules of life and death? That's a bold move, even for a god.
It is. And the consequences,
Yeah.
they're huge. Think about it. An act of love, meant to be this personal thing, ends up shaping the course of history. It just goes to show you, even divine actions can have unintended consequences.
Yeah, talk about a ripple effect. So how do the other gods react to Clotho going rogue like this?
Chaos. Pretty much chaos. The historical documents, especially those court transcripts, paint a picture of a divine court in total uproar. They realize that Clotho's actions, fueled by her love for this mortal, have accidentally made Lassus into this symbol,
Okay.
a messiah, this figure of divine favor.
Right.
And that, as you can imagine, fuels the rise of, Christianity.
Wow. Talk about a chain reaction. One god's personal decision leads to a whole religion.
Yeah. You'd think they would have seen that coming.
Right.
But that's the thing about these sources. They suggest that even gods aren't, all-knowing.
Yeah.
They make mistakes. They act without thinking.
Right.
And sometimes they just miss the big picture, It challenges that whole idea that they're in total control.
It makes you wonder, so what do? Do they, like, try to hit the cosmic undo button?
They try,
Yeah.
but their attempts to control things actually make things worse. The historical documents show the divine court imposing sanctions on any further, intervention in human affairs. No more meddling, no more miracles.
Ah, so it's like a hands-off approach, trying to contain the spread of Christianity by doing nothing.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm guessing that backfires spectacularly.
You know it. These sanctions, the ones meant to limit Christianity, they actually make it stronger. It creates this air of mystery, kind of us versus them mentality. And maybe most importantly, it leaves a vacuum for human interpretation.
That makes sense. When the gods go silent, humans tend to, fill in the blanks themselves.
Right. And Constantine's vision of the cross. It's a prime example of that.
Right, of course.
Without clear divine guidance, he sees his vision as a sign,
Right.
like an endorsement of his actions. He takes the Christian cross, leads his armies to victory, and, you know the rest. He paves the way for Christianity to become the state religion of the Roman Empire.
So from one god's act of love, we get a major world religion, empires being shaped, and sadly, the start of religious persecution. It's really amazing to think about how connected everything is, even small actions having these huge ripple effects across history.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop there. The sources show that the gods, realizing they messed up, they try to get back in control, but their methods are just as flawed as before.
Okay.
Athena, the goddess of wisdom, she suggests a counterbalance to Christianity.
Yeah.
The rise of Islam through the Prophet Muhammad.
So it's like a divide and conquer strategy.
Yeah, something like that.
And I'm guessing this doesn't exactly lead to world peace.
You got it. Cue the Crusades.
Right.
The sources show them as a direct consequence of this divine intervention, or, well, an indirect one, I guess.
Right.
You know, religious fervor fueled by this sense of divine mandate on both sides. And it all leads to centuries of violence.
It's like every time the gods try to fix things, they just make a bigger mess. Makes you wonder, are they really in control? Or are they just as caught up in the chaos as we are?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
A really good question. And it brings us to the present day, where the novel introduces this parallel storyline.
Oh, yeah, Dr. William Hork, Nobel Prize winner, philanthropist, all that.
Right.
And secretly, Zeus, reincarnated.
Exactly. The novel dives into this idea of divine reincarnation.
Yeah.
Makes you think about what it means to be both God and human, how those identities might, clash, or maybe even merge.
Right. So we've got Zeus living a double life, walking among us as this brilliant scientist. But I'm guessing he's not just here to, publish research papers. What's his end game?
Well, it seems Zeus, or Dr. Hork, is working on this secret project called Project Genesis.
Okay, Project Genesis. Sounds ominous.
And as you might guess, it has something to do with guiding humanity towards a brighter future.
So he's not about the whole overt divine intervention thing anymore. It's more about playing the long game, working within the system.
Yeah. Trying to clean up the mess the gods created, but this time from within the human world.
Interesting strategy. But why all the secrecy?
That's where things get even more, more interesting. The novel introduces another key player, a figure from Mesopotamian mythology, Marduk.
Marduk. Okay. Fill me in.
He's known for his tyranny, his brutality. He represents that destructive potential of humanity unchecked by any kind of guidance.
Marduk. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. What's his connection to Project Genesis?
Well, the novel suggests that Dr. Hork is attempting to rewrite history.
Okay.
Specifically by intervening in Marduk's childhood. Like he's trying to stop a future catastrophe by changing the past.
Wow. Time travel, divine intervention, and the fate of humanity all rolled into one.
Yeah, it's a lot. But there's one more piece of the puzzle we got to consider before we move on. Remember Anu, the shepherd who raised Marduk?
I'm sensing a theme here. Marduk's darkness versus Anu's nurturing presence.
Exactly. It's like Zeus, through Dr. Hork, is trying to tip the scales, give Marduk a chance at a different path. But as we've already seen, even the best intentions, even divine ones, can have unforeseen consequences.
Right. So we've got Zeus disguised as a scientist trying to change the past, this tyrannical figure who might hold the key to the future, and the question of whether the gods can actually control destiny.
There's a lot to think about.
Or if they're just along for the ride like us.
It is. And we haven't even talked about Joshua Bach yet, the young man who seems to be at the center of it all.
Yeah, there's always another layer to this story.
There is.
All right, listeners, we've set the stage, introduced the players, and hinted at this high-stakes game that's being played. But this is just the beginning of our deep dive. Stick with us as we explore the deeper implications of these stories and the questions they raise about free will, destiny, and, well, the role of humanity in shaping its own future.